Picture this. It's 3 a.m. in rural Brazil. The moonlight casts shadows across endless sugarcane fields. Everything seems peaceful until you hear it, a low rumble. Not thunder, not machinery. It's something much worse. What you're hearing is the sound of destruction moving at 30 miles per hour. By sunrise, 3 months of back-breaking work will be gone, completely erased, as if it never existed. This isn't a natural disaster. This isn't a war between nations. This is something far more personal, far more devastating, and happening right now while you sleep. In the remote countryside of southern Brazil, farmers are digging trenches that stretch for miles around their crops. Not to stop armies, not to channel water. They're digging to stop pigs. But these aren't your typical farm pigs. Meet the Java porcos, hybrid beasts born from European wild boar and domestic pigs. They're stronger, smarter, faster, and more destructive than anything these farmers have ever faced. And tonight, they're coming for everything these families have worked for. Here's the twist. When all modern defenses fail, electric fences, steel traps, even firearms, these farmers turn to the oldest weapon known to mankind, a shovel. What happens next will change everything you thought you knew about survival, ingenuity, and the lengths people will go to protect their livelihood. But first, you need to meet the enemy. Forget wolves, bears, or jaguars. The most dangerous enemy facing Brazilian farmers today walks on 4 legs, weighs 300 pounds, and has an IQ that would surprise you. The Java porco isn't your typical wild animal. Created through decades of crossbreeding between European wild boar and domestic pigs, these creatures have evolved into agricultural nightmares. They're stronger than wild boar, smarter than domestic pigs, and more destructive than both combined. They travel in packs of 20 to over 100 animals. When darkness falls, they emerge from the forest like a living bulldozer, systematically destroying everything in their path. They don't just eat crops, they demolish entire irrigation systems with hooves harder than steel. They uproot sugarcane plants, destroy corn stalks, and turn months of careful cultivation into wasteland in hours. But it gets worse. These animals are learning. Once they discover a food source, they return night after night. They remember. They adapt. They even teach their young the best routes to the richest fields. And if destroying crops wasn't enough, Java porcos attack livestock too. Chickens, ducks, even calves become protein sources for these omnivorous destroyers. They're walking disease carriers, spreading leptospirosis, hepatitis E, and African swine fever through water, soil, and air. One pack, one night, an entire season's harvest, gone. You'd think with all our modern technology, we'd have solutions for this problem. You'd be wrong. What happened when desperate farmers tried every cutting-edge defense available will shock you. When everything modern fails, when your livelihood depends on outsmarting 300-pound intelligent pigs, you don't just give up. Brazilian farmers threw everything they had at this problem, creating a catalog of expensive failures that would make any engineer cringe. First came high-tech electric fencing, the kind designed to stop bears and large predators. Cost, thousands of dollars per mile. Result, complete failure. Why? Because Java porcos are smart enough to disable power sources with a single bite. Some even use sticks to test the wires before approaching. When the fence goes dead, the entire herd floods in. Next came elaborate steel traps, cage systems, and pit traps with mechanical triggers. The problem? These animals travel in massive groups, but traps only catch a few at a time. When the first pig gets caught and starts squealing, the rest of the herd learns to avoid that area for weeks. Worse yet, the smartest pigs actually scout ahead, triggering traps to clear safe paths for their families. Firearms seemed like the obvious solution. Except try shooting 100 fast-moving targets in complete darkness, thick forest, and heavy fog. Even professional hunters couldn't make a dent in populations that reproduce faster than bullets could stop them. Plus, the legal complications and environmental concerns made widespread shooting problematic. After months of watching expensive solutions fail spectacularly, exhausted farmers began asking a different question. What if we stopped trying to catch them and started preventing them from getting here in the first place? Comment 1 if you find this video interesting. Comment 0 if you find it boring. That's when Joao, a desperate farmer with nothing left to lose, picked up the most basic tool imaginable and discovered something that would revolutionize farming across an entire region. The shovel that changed everything, Joao, a 58-year-old sugarcane farmer in Sao Paulo state, had lost 2 consecutive harvests to Java porcos. His bank account was empty. His family's future hung in the balance. He had no money left for fancy equipment or high-tech solutions. So he did something that seemed almost primitive. He grabbed a shovel and started digging. He dug trenches 5 feet deep, 3 feet wide, with vertical walls that stretched around his entire property. No electricity, no moving parts, no technology that could break down. Just holes in the ground that created an invisible barrier more effective than anything money could buy. The results were immediate and shocking. Within weeks, crop damage dropped by 90%. After 3 months, many farms reported 0 pig intrusions. The Java porcos simply couldn't cross the trenches. If they fell in, they couldn't climb out. If they tried to jump, they couldn't make the distance. Unlike electric fences that require maintenance and can be disabled, trenches just exist. They don't need power. They don't need monitoring. They can't be outsmarted or broken. They're a permanent, silent guardian that works 24/7 without human intervention. Word spread faster than wildfire. Farmers across southern Brazil began hiring excavators and organizing trench-digging cooperatives. What started as one desperate man's last resort became a regional agricultural revolution. But there was a problem nobody saw coming. This simple solution was about to create complications that would test these farmers in ways they never imagined. The price of protection. Digging a trench sounds simple until you do the math. A typical small farm needs 3 to 6 miles of trenches. Larger operations require double that. At $2 per foot for professional excavation, the initial investment runs between $30,000 and $100,000. But that was just the beginning. When rainy season arrived, trenches became mud-filled nightmares. Without proper drainage, they transformed from defensive barriers into breeding grounds for mosquitoes and standing water hazards. Many farmers discovered their solution had created new problems requiring additional engineering and thousands more dollars. Rocky soil required industrial drilling equipment, tripling costs. Soft soil needed concrete reinforcement to prevent cave-ins. Every geographical challenge demanded customized solutions that stretched budgets beyond breaking points. Then came the human cost. Farm equipment operators working at night couldn't see trench edges clearly. Several tractors tumbled into defensive ditches, injuring drivers and destroying expensive machinery. Children playing near farms faced new drowning hazards. Emergency access to fields became complicated during medical emergencies. Smart farmers began installing warning signs, reflective markers, and temporary bridges at key crossing points. But every safety measure meant more expense, more maintenance, more complexity. The brutal truth? While trenches stopped pigs, they also created a new category of problems that farmers hadn't anticipated. Some began wondering if the cure was worse than the disease. But then something unexpected happened. The farmers who were struggling the most started discovering safety issues that went far beyond just trench accidents. Maria Santos thought her trench system was perfect until the accident. Her teenage son was driving their small tractor near the property line when morning fog obscured the trench edge. The vehicle tumbled in, breaking the boy's arm and destroying $15,000 worth of equipment. This wasn't an isolated incident. Across Brazil, trench accidents became a new category of farm-related injuries. Emergency responders struggled to access fields during medical crises because their vehicles couldn't cross defensive barriers. Delivery trucks refused to enter properties without proper bridges. Even farm workers began demanding hazard pay for operating near the holes. Environmental complications emerged too. During heavy rains, trenches channeled water flow in unexpected directions, causing erosion in neighboring properties. Some farmers faced lawsuits from downstream neighbors whose fields flooded because of redirected runoff. Wildlife protection groups raised concerns about native animals falling into traps designed for pigs. Local deer, armadillos, and even cattle occasionally became unintended victims of defensive systems designed to be indiscriminate barriers. The maintenance nightmare was relentless. Successful trenches require constant upkeep. Vegetation grows along edges, creating natural bridges for determined animals. Seasonal flooding deposits mud and debris that must be removed. In some areas, trenches require complete re-excavation every 2 years. Yet farmers kept digging. Despite all these complications, one fact remained unchanged. The trenches worked. And then something remarkable happened. The smartest farmers stopped thinking about trenches as just holes in the ground and started seeing them as part of something much bigger. The trench revolution did more than stop pigs. It transformed rural Brazilian thinking from reactive to proactive. Instead of waiting for problems and then scrambling for solutions, farmers began designing their entire operations around defensive principles. The smartest farmers realized individual trenches had limitations, but connected systems created regional fortresses. Neighboring farms began coordinating their defenses, creating continuous barrier networks that channeled pig movements away from entire districts rather than just individual properties. These agricultural alliances shared excavation costs, maintenance responsibilities, and even breakthrough monitoring. When one farm's defenses were breached, neighboring farmers received immediate alerts, creating early warning systems that helped entire communities respond faster than individual operations ever could. Modern Brazilian farmers now approach their land like battlefield commanders. They study aerial photographs to identify vulnerability points. They map animal movement patterns like tracking enemy troop positions. They create multiple defensive layers with backup systems for every primary barrier. This strategic thinking extends beyond pig defense. Farmers now plan irrigation systems, equipment storage, and even crop placement with defensive considerations. The result is agricultural operations that are inherently more secure, more efficient, and more profitable than traditional farming methods. Farmers stopped seeing themselves as victims of circumstance and started viewing themselves as active defenders of their livelihood. This mental shift created confidence that translated into better decision-making across all aspects of their operations. But the most remarkable part of this story isn't the strategy or the technology. It's what this means for every single person watching this video right now. When you eat corn, bite into sugarcane, or enjoy any crop grown in southern Brazil, you're consuming food protected by trenches dug by farmers whose names will never appear in history books. These unnamed heroes wage a silent war every day, not for glory or recognition, but for survival. This isn't just about farming, it's about human resilience. In a world where every solution seems to require internet connectivity, smartphone apps, and backup batteries, these farmers prove that sometimes the most ancient tools remain the most effective. A shovel and determination built defenses that billion-dollar technology couldn't match. Their trenches represent something deeper than agricultural innovation. They're proof that when your back is against the wall, human ingenuity finds a way. When expensive solutions fail, simple creativity succeeds. When technology breaks down, basic engineering endures. Every successful harvest protected by these silent trenches feeds families not just in Brazil, but around the world. Every farmer who refuses to surrender keeps food prices stable for millions of people who never see the battles being fought in their name. These farmers don't dig trenches because they love construction work. They dig because giving up isn't an option, because their children need to eat, because losing isn't acceptable when survival is at stake. Sometimes the most sophisticated problems require the most fundamental solutions. Sometimes the best defense is the one that doesn't rely on anything except human determination and the willingness to pick up basic tools and start working. Every trench dug is a reminder that in the silent war between humanity and chaos, ordinary people still refuse to surrender. If this story of quiet determination and practical innovation resonated with you, we want to hear your thoughts. Have you ever faced a seemingly impossible problem that required thinking outside conventional solutions? Share your experience in the comments below. And if you appreciate stories about real people solving real problems with practical ingenuity, the kind of stories that don't make headlines, but keep the world running, subscribe to our channel. Every subscription helps us continue uncovering these hidden tales of human resilience. Thank you for staying until the end. Here's to successful harvests and peaceful nights for farmers everywhere.